Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, July 8th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Now, if you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so you can check that out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, July 8th. First up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Cincinnati Reds. We're going to see a great pitching matchup here with Luis Castillo and Shane McClanahan. Now, you guys know I'm a big fan of Shane McClanahan's game. I got to say, he's got to be the front runner to win the American League Cy Young right now. But the thing is, I'm not sure his bats are going to be able to back him up in this spot. And I think there is some value on the underdog in the Cincinnati Reds at home here. You look at Luis Castillo, he's been pitching very well also. You look at his last outing against the Atlanta Braves, defending World Series champs who are red hot. 7 innings, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, and a 4-3 Reds win. So a big underdog victory there with Castillo on the mound against a much, much tougher lineup. And when you look at the Tampa Bay Rays against righties, 21st in team OPS and 26th in isolated power in the last 30 days. They're also the 5th highest team strikeout rate against righties in the last 30 days. So this does look like a good spot for Luis Castillo to pitch another 6-7 sharp innings for the Cincinnati Reds. While on the other side, although Shane McClanahan's got to be the toughest lefty to face in the league right now, the Reds have crushed left-handed pitching in the last 30 days. They're top 10 in isolated power. They're number 3 in team OPS, so they are hitting lefties very, very well. I may only take 2-3 runs in this game for the Cincinnati Reds to get the job done, but I'm going to lean towards the under, and I'm going to take the plus money with the Cincinnati Reds on the money line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles hosting the Los Angeles Angels. Now, at first, we were going to see Michael Lorenzen slated to start in this game, but he looks like he just got pulled, so right now the Angels are undecided for who their starter will be. The Tyler Wells should be going for the Orioles, and Tyler Wells has been sharp this year, 7-4 with a 3.09 ERA. Now, I'd certainly like to see the strikeouts rise. Only 50 Ks in 75 2/3 innings. But the biggest thing that I do like about Wells' game is that he limits the home run ball and he limits walks overall. His last 5 starts, he's only given up 2 home runs combined, despite facing some powerful lineups in the Blue Jays and the Twins and the Mariners. So I do think Wells is pitching well this year. And with the Angels not decided on a starter, if it's Lorenzen, I certainly like the Orioles' chances. But even if the Angels go with a bullpen game here, the Los Angeles Angels bullpen just hasn't been very good in the last 2 months or so, maybe a month and a half, you could say, right when that losing streak started. The Angels are just playing really uninspiring baseball, and the Orioles are looking like a team that wants to prove something. Even though this may not be their year, they're looking like a team to watch out for in the next couple seasons, and they play very, very well at Camden Yards. Give me the Baltimore Orioles here on the money line. Next up, we see the biggest rivalry in sports, like I mentioned yesterday, the New York Yankees taking on the Boston Red Sox. Now, at first, we saw Michael Wacha slated to start for the Red Sox here, but it looks like his name was just pulled off the list. So we're going to see a couple of these games here, some missing information, but we should see Nestor Cortes going for the Yankees. Now, this is an interesting spot for Nestor. He has been struggling at times in his last 5 starts. You look at his last one, though, against the Guardians, he was sharp, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts, but that was against the Guardians lineup that really doesn't hit lefties at all. While you look at the Boston Red Sox, they have hit lefties a lot better, in the top 10 in the last 30 days in team OPS against lefties, but their power numbers haven't been there. They're ranked 20th in isolated power, and Nestor Cortes, the biggest issues he's had in the last 5 or so starts has been the home run ball, giving up at least 1 homer in 4 of his last 5. But if you're facing a lineup that hasn't had too much power against lefties, I think Cortes will fare pretty well. And, you know, it's kind of dependent on who the Red Sox start here. I really like the Yankees lineup against Michael Wacha. But if we're not going to get that matchup, I guess we'll have to reevaluate when the Red Sox make the decision. I'm going to lean towards the Yankees for now. We'll see who Boston decides to go with. But I think Cortes pitches well enough here for the Yankees bats to take care of the rest. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see a projected matchup of Pablo Lopez and Chris Bassett. Now, Pablo Lopez has been pitching very well. There's no doubting that. But he did really struggle against these New York Mets back on June 17th. It's really tough to get past that. It was a 10-4 Marlins loss. Lopez went 5 1/3 innings, giving up 8 base hits, 7 total runs. 6 of those were earned, and a home run in that one. And this New York Mets team will make you pay for putting a lot of runners on base. while the Marlins have really struggled with runners in scoring position this season. Although they've been very good in the on-base percentage department, against right-handed pitching especially, they have just really struggled with runners in scoring position. I think if they were just a little bit better with those 3, 4, 5 guys getting in those runs from the leadoff men, I think this Marlins team would be over 500 and maybe even a wild card spot right now. When you look at how well their starting pitching match, their rotation has been, Sandy Alcantara, I believe, is the best pitcher in the league right now. The bullpen has been improving quite a bit as the season's continued also. I think the Marlins, if they just get a little bit better with runners in scoring position, watch out for them. But in this game, the Mets do the little things right. I think they have the better starting pitcher on the mound. I think they have the better lineup and bullpen as well, and they're playing at home. Give me the New York Mets here on the money line. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Atlanta Braves. We're going to see Eric Fedde and Charlie Morton as your projected starters here. Now, Eric Fedde, 4.29 ERA, not too bad for what the Nationals expected from him this season, but I don't like this matchup for him against this really good Atlanta Braves lineup. The Braves have been crushing lefties and righties as of late. When you look at their numbers against righties offensively in the last 30 days, isolated power, number 1, team OPS, number 1, WRC plus, number 3. They are crushing righties. I think Fedde's in trouble. He's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 2 starts, and that was against 2 teams that don't really have the best power numbers in the Pirates and the Marlins. The walks are starting to add up for Fedde as well, and I think the Braves get to him just like they did back on June 15th, where he gave up 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks in that one. That was an 8-2 Nationals loss. I could see a similar score line. I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here and lay the run line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Texas Rangers. A pair of Grays going at it here. Sonny Gray and John Gray are your projected starters. Now, the Twins are small favorites here. The total, I think, is set a little bit too low. When you look at Sonny Gray, 2.47 ERA, but I don't necessarily think he's pitching that well. You look at his xFIP, it is above 3.4, so I do think there's some regression to worry about there. The Texas Rangers lineup has been solid at home against right-handed pitching, so I do think the Rangers offense will show up here. John Gray has pitched very, very well for the Rangers as of late, especially. Now, his ERA is below 4 now, so you got to give him credit, but the last time out didn't look as sharpest. He gave up 4 total runs. 3 of those were earned, 2 homers against the New York Mets. The Minnesota Twins have just crushed righties as of late. And when you look at these 2 teams' bullpens, I think both of these teams have arguably the top 5 worst bullpens in the league right now. I mean, when you look at projected WAR, that's certainly the case. The Rangers ranked 28th. The Minnesota Twins not much better at 23rd. So I could see, even if this is a lower scoring game at the beginning of it, I believe the bullpens come in. We could see some more runs. I'm going to take the over here. I just think the total's set a little bit too low. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Kansas City Royals. Aaron Savale and Brady Singer are your projected starters. Now, I believe these 2 teams are very, very similar, despite what their records may say. Now, the Royals are playing a lot better. We saw them compete pretty well in that Houston Astros series. Even though they lost a couple of games there, they still were very, very competitive in that series, offensively especially. And I do think we're going to see some offense from this Kansas City Royals team in this game and in this series as well. Aaron Savale, I don't think he's pitching nearly as bad as his 7.04 ERA suggests. However, he is still struggling, and the home run ball has been a big issue for him. We saw him give up 2 homers last time out against the New York Yankees. 6 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 homers in that one. And the walks are also a problem you have to worry about with Savale at times. The Kansas City Royals are a very patient lineup, so they will draw walks. They won't strike out very often. We're starting to see some power numbers tick up for Kansas City as well. I think the Royals are favorites for a reason. I trust Brady Singer a lot more also on the mound. Give me the Royals here on the money line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Chicago White Sox with Tarik Skubal and Lucas Giolito as your starters. Now, the White Sox aren't big favorites here because Tigers have arguably their best starter on the mound, and Giolito has struggled for the most part this year with a 4.9 ERA for Chicago, but I do think this is a good spot to take the White Sox. They've really done well against left-handed pitching, not only this season, but the last few seasons as well, and Skubal, we're catching him on a little bit of a downslide right now. You look at his last outing against the Royals, he went 4 2/3 innings, 5 earned runs, 2 homers in that one. Only 1 strikeout. That 1 strikeout is very, very concerning for me. I know it's against the Royals team, like I just said, that limits strikeouts, but Skubal, to me, is going to need to miss bats in order to be successful. And this White Sox team is another team that doesn't strike out a lot, especially against left-handed pitching. So I don't think Skubal is in a store for a very good outing in this one. Lucas Giolito is facing a Tigers lineup that's been pretty hot lately, but I still think this Tigers lineup is one of the worst in baseball, and the numbers showed that as well in terms of team OPS and isolated power. So this price isn't the best, but I do think the White Sox are the better play. I'm going to take them here in this one. Next up, we see an NL Central matchup between the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, if you ask the Pirates, I bet they would never want to see the Milwaukee Brewers the rest of the season. This season's series is in favor of Milwaukee 8-2 right now. At the beginning of the year, it was really hard to watch as the Brewers won the first 6 games. But you look at this Pittsburgh team, things have kind of been inconsistent for them. We saw them play a doubleheader on Thursday. It's tough to play a doubleheader at one location, then have no days off and travel to a different one. So this is going to be a tough spot for them. Now, they do have JT Brubaker on the mound here for the Pirates, while Aaron Ashby on the other side for the Brewers. Ashby's 1-6 record, 4.6 ERA. Doesn't look very good on paper, but I do think he is pitching pretty well this year for Milwaukee. 73 strikeouts and 58 2/3 innings pitched. That's pretty solid. The biggest issue for him has been the walks, but I still think against a Pirates lineup that just hasn't done a lot against left-handed pitching, and is coming off that doubleheader where they had to play 2 different games. Bullpens had to get exercised pretty well, and the Brewers have just owned the Pirates this season. To me, I think the Brewers are still the play. I'm going to take the Milwaukee Brewers here and lay the run line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. Zach Wheeler and Adam Wainwright are your projected starters. Phillies are actually small favorites right now as they opened up as an underdog here. I do think it makes sense. I think they have the better starting pitcher on the mound. We already saw the Phillies get to Adam Wainwright just last start, where Wainwright went 5 2/3 innings, giving up 8 base hits, 4 earned runs, 2 homers in that one. That was a 4-0 Phillies victory. To me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there's no reason for me to go on the other side here when Wheeler also just dazzled against these Cardinals, going 7 innings, shutout ball, 5 strikeouts in that game, in that 4-0 victory. So, you're getting a really good price with Philadelphia. I think they've been the better team as of late, since St. Louis is starting to struggle right now on both sides of the ball. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Phillies here and take them on the money line. Next up, we see the Colorado Rockies taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're going to see Chad Cole and Zach Gallen as your starters. Now, Chad Cole wasn't as sharp as against these Diamondbacks back in Coors Field on July the 3rd, but on the road here, I do think this benefits him here, facing a Diamondbacks team that is a very home run dependent offense. They're a very powerful lineup against right-handed pitching, but Chad Cole has done a good job for the most part at keeping the ball in the yard. His barrel percentage is above average for starting pitchers, so I do think he'll have a bounce-back start here against Arizona. He did pitch well against them the first time he saw him back at the beginning of the season. So I like Cole to pitch well here, and I've mentioned over and over, I do like fading the Rockies offense when they're facing a right-handed pitcher on the road. And they're facing a really solid righty here in Zach Gallen, pitching really well for the Diamondbacks. He's been their best starter, their ace for sure. 3.4 ERA for Arizona, 77 Ks, 82 in the third innings. I'd like to see the strikeouts rise a bit, but Gallen has been solid for Arizona. He hasn't been as sharp as of late, but he's also had some tough matchups against the Padres twice and pitching at Coors Field. At his own home ballpark here, facing a weak Rockies lineup against righties, I think he pitches well enough to keep this game low scoring. Don't love these two bullpens, but also think these lineups aren't the strongest to begin with. Give me the under in the Rockies D-backs game. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Oakland Athletics with Jose Urquidy and Paul Blackburn as your starters. Now, Jose Urquidy, he has been pitching very well as of late. You got to give him credit. You look at his last 3 outings against the Angels, Yankees, and Mets, so 2 strong lineups there. The Angels still have some pop at the top of their lineup. He's given up 1 earned run in each of those starts, 6 innings at the minimum in each of those as well. 8 strikeouts last time out against the Angels. Even though he's given up a home run in each of those starts with those 1 earned runs, he is still pitching good enough for me to take him against an Oakland A's lineup that's dead last in the last 30 days in team OPS against righties. Paul Blackburn, he pitched very well in his last outing. Previous ones to that one, not the best. His ERA at home this season has not been very good. He's 1-3 this year with a 5.87 ERA at home. He's also not a guy that's going to pitch too deep into ball games. So I don't really trust this Oakland A's bullpen, especially against an Astros lineup that's been hitting lately in late innings. You look on Thursday's afternoon game against the Royals, it was a 3-2 ball game, and then add a couple runs late, and they covered the run line easily in that 5-2 game. So I'm going to take the Houston Astros here and lay the run line on the road. I think it could be a closer game at the beginning, but I think the Astros offense will prevail in the end. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres hosting the San Francisco Giants. Blake Snell going for the Padres here. And although the Padres didn't cover that run line last time Snell was on the mound on July 1st, it wasn't because of him. He was fantastic in that game. 5 innings, 1 earned run, 12 strikeouts against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I believe the Dodgers struck out 17 times or 20 times in that game. Total, it was like a record that they've had, a franchise record and a win that they had. But it's Blake Snell, 12 strikeouts in 5 innings against, and then he's facing a San Francisco Giants lineup that is also struggling with the strikeout rate against left-handed pitching, where they're top 10 highest in the last 30 days. Team OPS is ranked 25th for San Francisco in the last 30 days against lefties, 22nd in isolated power. This is a really, really good and important start for Blake Snell. I think it'll be a successful one for the Padres here. And with the Giants decide to go with a bullpen game, which we've seen them do plenty of times this year, and to me, it's not a very good idea because this Giants bullpen is not the best on paper. I like the Padres all the way here, so give me San Diego on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers with Keegan Thompson and Tyler Anderson as your starters. Now, the Dodgers are big-time favorites here. I do think it makes sense. You know, they're at home, the much better record. I do think the starting pitching matchup benefits them, even though it may not be by a bunch, but I still think Tyler Anderson's the better option here. But to me, the better play, rather than taking the Dodgers on the money line or the run line, is just taking the under. Tyler Anderson, a left-handed pitcher, facing a Cubs lineup that has struggled against lefties as of late. I do trust Anderson in this spot where we've seen him struggle is against those teams that crush lefties, your White Sox, your Reds, your Rockies on the road. But against the teams that have not done the best against left-handed pitching, a team like the Padres last time out, Anderson has excelled, and I think he'll pitch well here. But, you know, Keegan Thompson, he's been very inconsistent. He's kind of one of those pitchers that's very tough to read. It depends on if he's got his stuff or not. Last time out, it was pretty solid. I mean, he only went 4 innings, 2 earned runs against the Red Sox, but you know, I think he'll pitch well enough to keep this game a lower scoring in the end. I think the Dodgers do most of the scoring here, but this is a pretty high total. I think we have some room for an under, so give me the under in this Cubs-Dodgers matchup. Our final game of the night, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Seattle Mariners. George Kirby and Ross Stripling are your projected starters. Now, to me, there's not a ton of value to find in this game with these starting pitchers. I think both guys are pitching pretty much to their ERAs right now. I don't think either guy has gotten too unlucky or lucky. I think the ERAs are going to stay pretty much the same for the rest of the year. But I do think George Kirby, the biggest problem I have in his game right now, at least, you know, he's very good at limiting walks. He can miss bats via the strikeout, but the home run ball continues to hurt him. And he's facing a Blue Jays lineup that crushes righties. They're just a very powerful lineup in general. They're top 10 in both team OPS and isolated power against righties in the last 30 days. So I could see Kirby getting into some issues with the home run ball here, even though he's pitching at home, one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks at T-Mobile Park. So, you know, it's a tough one for me, but I'm going to lean towards the Blue Jays here on the money line. But I think there's better spots to look at for this Friday card. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday, July 8th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.